Wow, okay, here we go. Here we go, here we go. 9:34.
Anybody else, if you've got video, we love seeing you on video.
I know, I see a bunch of
There's a lot of people on, but we want to see more
white
video.
silhouettes.
Yeah.
Hi, Marissa. How are you?
All right.
Cool. So, you guys, here's the thing about tonight is we've got, let's see here. Hold on a second. We have got nothing planned. We want to talk to you. We want the plan to come from you. We want to hear, first of all, actually, we want to hear how you feel these calls have been benefiting you. We do them every Tuesday night for a couple months now, right? Maybe 3 months now. And, you know, the purpose of us doing these calls was to be helpful in whatever way we can. And so I'd love to hear how it's been helpful, if it's been helpful. And yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about that. And then also just want to hear about, you know, hi DM.
Okay, we got a first caller.
First time caller.
That's exciting.
Quite a call to come in on your first time. Well, we have some of our best calls when we've got nothing planned and we just see where everyone's going.
Hi,
hey, Kimberly. Good to see you. So yeah, we'd also love to hear, you know, if you haven't had an experience with the calls, we'd love to hear, you know, what's the biggest thing going on for you right now? That if you had, hey, Daniel, oh, brother, man, what's the biggest thing going on for you that if you had an answer to it or that you solved it would change everything, right? What is, you know, where's the fulcrum? Where's the lever? What's going on with you? You know, it's a crazy time we're living in. We got a lot of people struggling in a lot of different ways. And, you know, we feel like we've been talking about kind of the same thing every week. And so we just want to talk about what you want to talk about this week. So feel free to post your questions in the chat here, or you know, if you want to come on and tell us a story, we can do that. But tonight's going to be easy breezy. We don't have a whole lot planned.
Yeah, so we just kind of want to open up the space for, I'd like to open up the space for, first of all, questions. If anybody has questions that we can support you. And just so you guys know, you know, we haven't really been focused this way, but Ben and I, our background, you guys, is in relationship coaching, transformational healing, deep level transformation.
Helping single women bring in their life partner.
Yeah, I mean, I was a special education teacher for over 10 years. I've got a lot of experience with kids. You know, I mean, really, you can really take your questions in any direction, and we'd love to just support you, even if it's in the 3D. We'd also love to hear from each and every one of you, or, you know, if you are having, we did create this space. We know a lot of you are getting different messages in, different downloads that you're getting in from prayer, from meditation, from dream time. So if any of you are getting in a download that you would like to share, we'd also love to open up the space for that. We definitely would love to talk about the 4D to 3, the 4D, you know, 3D and 4D to 5D transition. Again, that's like going to be pivotal for everybody to get on. It's really, really important. We have had a lot of you, I've had so many of you reaching out about moving to Costa Rica. I apologize if I missed any of you. I've been trying to get to as many of you as possible. I probably spent 6 hours one day just trying to message everybody and back and forth. So if any of you fell through the cracks, I apologize. And Ben's been on the phone way more than I have. So, you know, also if you have questions about, you know, possibly investing in Synergita in Costa Rica, we're happy to answer those here in the time frame. But really, we just want to open up the space for you guys and how we can best support you.
And we would love to see more of your video faces if possible.
Yeah, we do like
it's nice. It's nice staring at a few of your faces. Hi, Nancy, Marissa, and Garrett. So yeah, okay, we do have a question. It's a good question.
Okay,
from
great.
Kimberly.
Thanks for the question, Kimberly.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good one. So she says, I'm feeling this whole experience is,
This is from Marissa.
I missed it. All right,
Okay.
new one.
Okay.
That's a new one. All right. I had to get off of Facebook and stay away from all the information. I've been meditating a lot and I have seen the evil doings and it was hard to handle. How do I stay balanced? I'm in and out of 3D, 4D, and 5D.
Great question. Yeah, and sometimes you do have to just take a break too, especially when you got the info. Sometimes you have to kind of step back and take a break.
Hi, Natalie.
And I think it really is a fine balance between, you know, there are those of us that are being called, we are transitioning into 5D, you know, spirituality right now. It's young spiritual adulthood. And what that does mean is it is being aware. It is being aware of what's going on. It's not burying our heads in the sand. It is paying attention so that we can get really, really active, right? But that being said, it can be overwhelming. It can be really heavy. It can be really dense. And the balance is definitely important. So, you know, in 5D Business School, we break this down into 12 dimensions of consciousness.
Which she does have.
And right, which Kimberly, you've got access to, you know, so we talk about like the 5D young spiritual adulthood where you're just fiery and you're on fire and you're speaking your truth and you're in that. And that is the main primary perspective that the world is transitioning into. And it is the main primary perspective that we should all be in right now, I believe. And that being said, there's also, you know, the 9D, which we call the void. And Kimberly, if you're in that right now, I would say do some of those 9D meditations in the 5D Business School. That is all about going to the void and just resetting. You know, the void is the place where you go, where you just, it kind of clears everything and you have that deep reset. And then you can go back in and you can kind of manifest from the place of the new. So, you know, if you're feeling in a place of overwhelm, that's a great place to go to kind of insulate yourself, incubate. It's kind of like a womb space, and then you can get that reset, and it's really deep level integration. You know, if you're feeling too overwhelmed right now, it's an indicator that you need to step back and integrate, and then you can move forward, right? It's all about the balance.
Yeah, and then once you take that time, you know, you should take that time with the intention of, once you come out of it, being able to have the full picture so that you can, you know, document it all on Facebook or whatever your ideal platform is, right? Most of, you know, we're solely on Facebook, so we assume most of you are as well, because I have no idea where else you would have heard about this call. Yeah, so you know, ideally, like, here's the thing, guys. We're in a time right now where no matter what side you're on, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, we understand that we're in like the biggest, one of the biggest events of our time. You know, 9/11 was a huge event. This is even a bigger event, right, for the entire world, right? We're going to remember this. Like this entire event is going to leave a lasting impression on the planet. And you know, I posted something, I think it was yesterday, that a lot of people commented on, you know, out of the whole post, it talked about, you know, covered like 6 different things. One of the biggest things that people were commenting on was the part where I wrote about the transformational leaders really aren't doing shit in this time. Right?
Most of them. Yeah.
Most of the top transformational leader, and I did name names, right? Jack Canfield, Marianne Williamson, right? Even Deepak Chopra. You know, I guess Tony Robbins is talking about it.
Tony Robbins has
awesome.
been speaking up. That's actually been nice to see. That's been good to see.
So disappointing. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's been making us crazy. It's like, okay, like we know how these guys operate. You know, they have a whole marketing system and they put it all in their marketing calendar and they plan. And this is 4D. It's not living in the present, you know, like the way, like Jen and I, we can't plan for a freaking week. You know, if we can't plan a couple months in advance because we don't know where we're going to be in a couple months. We don't know what's going to be happening in a couple months, you know? And so, but a lot of people in 4D, what you do is you set up a marketing calendar and you plan out the entire next year.
And sometimes 2 years.
So 2020 is already planned out for them in 2019, right? So now what happens is they've already done their marketing calendar. And now here they are in 2020 and oopsie daisy, coronavirus hits. And now, you know, shoot, we've already got our marketing calendar. And so now they can't actually talk about anything real or
and they
present
could.
or that matters.
They're not choosing to. They're choosing not to.
Exactly.
They could.
Exactly.
They're choosing not to. It's bottom line.
Yeah, they just don't know how to, they don't know how to do it, right? It's scary for them. They're concerned about their identity. You know, they want to stay in love and light. And, you know, so, you know, and guys, like, we understand manifestation. You know, we understand reality creation. We taught this stuff for years and years and years and years and years. We taught reality creation.
It's 4D.
It's 4D. It's what you do in 4D. It's a structure that you have to learn. It's called spiritual boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give a little explanation of it, right? So in 3D, you know, you have, you know, it's like you're Neo in the Matrix, right? You're sitting in your cubicle, you know, before you wake up, and you have no idea what's going on. You know, you're clocking in, you're clocking out, you know, you have a job you can't stand. And then at some point you see, you know, one of these spiritual teachers, Jack Canfield, you know, The Secret, Marianne Williamson,
The Power of Now.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle, right? Whatever you see, and you see them. You know, you read a book or you see a video that's basically telling you you can have anything, do anything, be anything, right? And so you say, well, I want to have anything, do anything, be anything. I want more. Wait, I can create my own reality. And so then you quit your job to create your own reality and follow the secret, practice the secret, right? And so then what happens is you have to go through 4D to get to 5D, because 5D is you're lucid in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
That's what 5D is. You can have anything, do anything, be anything. Okay. But in order to get to 5D, you don't just, you know, wake up one day from your cubicle, wake up in your morning and you're like, I'm going to quit my job and go be a millionaire, right? It doesn't work like that. Like, you have to go work your ass off for years, and you've got to quit your job, and you've got to take the leap, and you've got to find your new identity. And you've got to work your ass off, and you got to learn how to have a business, and you got to learn how to create a team, and you got to learn how to create a model and a method and a you know, you got to have something to sell, and you got to learn how to sell it, and you got to learn how to take money, and you got to learn about the systems, and you got to, like, Jesus Christ, you got to network, you got to travel, you got to learn to speak, you got to learn to put yourself out there, you got to, you know, but all these things have to be in alignment, right? And it's you know, it is a whole new way of life. It is. But that way of life is only meant for you to find who you are outside of your job, outside of your job description, you know, outside of your, you know, whatever it is you do to collect a paycheck, right? And so that's what 4D is. You learn the rules of a higher dimensional game of reality creation. But now what happens is these leaders, they get stuck in 4D because
they create runaway trains.
They have created runaway trains. And so what happens is they keep going and going and going and going and going, and they love their new identity. They love it so much they couldn't possibly give it up. And they're making so much money, and they've got a name for themselves, and everybody sees them, and they're like, oh, so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it's such a prison. It's such a prison, you guys. You guys, we've met these people behind the scenes. It's a prison, you guys. Kimberly's
saying Spirit has guided me to focus on. She says, met Jack Canfield and turns a switch on and off. That's right. Not impressed with him. So rehearsed and fake. Huge ego behind the scenes.
Huge ego. No.
So that's what happens, right? And so, you know, we had dinner with him, and I'm not going to go into details, but there were certain things that, you know, I would say something and he would like, and we're like,
that was weird. That was a really weird behavior thing going on. Yeah. Yeah. That was really bizarre. That was bizarre behavior.
Excuse me? You know,
we've seen some really bizarre behavior.
But what it is it's you know, the golden age, it's the golden cage, right? They are a slave to their new identity. They're an absolute slave to their new identity. And so they have this, because of this cage, they literally have to, they're confined to this image. And when you're confined to an image, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked if you're confined to your image.
Yep.
And
if you can't change your identity, that's a big thing that I see going on, is they've been on this path, and you and I pivot and pivot and pivot, and people are like, what the heck, I don't know who you are. And I'm like, I don't have a problem changing my identity,
because we know we're reality creators. So that's the problem, where people grow in 4D and then they're so afraid of losing their identity and losing everything they've built. And in 5D business school, we call this burning the house down. Mm-hmm. In order to get to 5D, you can't be owned by anything. You've got to burn the house down. You got to burn any parts of your identity down that are still owning you. Right? And so, but they're too afraid to do it. And that's the final test. Going from 4D to 5D is burning down your old identity, because that's the proof that that you're a reality creator. So yeah, okay, you've created reality, good job, you've done it, but can you do it again? And can you do it again? And can you do it again? And can you do it again? Because that's when you're really a reality creator, is when you can do it again and again and again, and you can follow God, and you can follow your faith and your trust, and you can follow what's next.
And you haven't created yourself as a false god either. I think it's a big issue with the 4D industry. And again, I don't want to throw everybody under the bus here. I think that there are a lot of.
I do. I want to throw everyone under the bus.
Can I just balance? Can I just balance? I'm pissed off too. We're both pissed off. Okay.
Dude, we got shit to do right now. The fucking world's falling apart.
I know. But
and it's like the leaders at the top aren't even willing to stand out and talk about it.
It's exasperating, and Ben and I are exasperated. Okay, so bear with us. But I will say, here's what
a little backlash.
That's fine. Here's what I will say about 4D. There are a lot of people that a lot of people are laughing at us. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for putting up with us. There are a lot of people. We try to be real. We just try to be as real as we can. Really, Ben and I try to be real.
There's a difference between light leaders and light warriors, right?
Yeah, we're light warriors.
So some of us have a flaming fucking sword.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I want to say really, really quickly. Okay, because I don't love throwing people under the bus. I really don't. And that's actually why I was trying not to name names, because you guys, and there's a ton of other names we could name. We're not going to name on this call. That were our clients that I can't name, and I wouldn't name, and I wouldn't do that to them. Okay. But here's what I'm going to say. On the one hand, it's important. A lot of these people have paved the way to a certain extent for us. Okay. And so there is still, to me, even if it's like your grandparents, like, let's just say your grandparents, there's like a certain amount of respect you have to have for your grandparents. If you're like, God, grandma, you're like so outdated, or geez, grandma, get with the program. And then you're like, wait, grandma, you're like 80 years old. It's okay. Like, you lived through the Depression. All right. And you got to have a little respect for grandma. Okay. So that's all I'm saying. There is a bit of respect that we should be having for these people. And that's why I don't want to completely throw them under the bus. Right. However, I am completely exasperated. And I think that that's actually a good thing and a good place for us to be in. And here's why. The truth is, we are the next wave. All of us on this call, we are the next wave. It's our turn. We've got what's next. They don't have what's next. Okay. They don't actually have 5D, you guys. A lot of these people have been faking a 7, which is what we talked about in 5D business school. They've been faking a 7, but I can tell you right now, they've been faking a 7. And what that means is that they've been pretending to be in their higher selves. They've been pretending to be speaking the spiritual psychobabble to us for years. But the truth is, they haven't even gone through a level 5. They have bypassed a 5. Okay. And 5 is young spiritual adulthood, where you are real, you are raw, you are honest, and you are speaking your truth. And I'm telling you, and you're not polished. And they've skipped that and gone to the spiritual bypass thing. And I think we need to be really, really mindful of this, because I believe that those of us that are meant to lead what's coming next and be, in what Ben said, not just a light worker, not a light leader, but like a light fucking warrior. Like, we need warriors on this planet right now.
Planet or not?
Or not. I mean, now is the time, right? So I believe that this is actually, if you're getting irritated too, there's a reason for it, right? And I believe that it's because we're the ones, like we can't look for others. We can't, it's spiritual childhood when you're looking for someone else to do it for you, right? Whether it's the leaders of the transformational industry, whether it's the president of the United States, whether it's, whoever it is, whether it's your the Pope or whatever your belief structure is, when at the end of the day, yes, God should be guiding us, or higher self or source or whatever name you want to give it. But But ultimately, we're the ones here on the ground floor. And if we're seeing other people that we think should be active but aren't active, like it's an indicator, like we've got to be the ones to get really active. Like nobody's going to do this for us. Like nobody's going to do it for us. So thanks for letting me get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, guys. And,
Yeah.
and you know, the reason that we're prepared for this, you know, some of us, and if you're not prepared for it, the way you get prepared for it, you know, you got to look at where you're afraid to post. You got to look at what you're afraid to post, what you're afraid to say, what you're afraid to be recognized as saying, like what stance you're afraid to take. Like you have to be willing to take a stance. We're at a point right now where we have to choose a side. Mm-hmm. We have to choose a side, because there's a side right now that wants to get on our knees and, you know, kiss feet and bend over and comply.
And please others. There's a big, you know, and this is a human thing. We want to please others. We don't want to offend anyone. And I'm not saying you need to go out of your way to offend anyone right now, but I think really being in your truth and going out on a limb and not being so concerned about upsetting somebody, but just getting it out is really, really important. You know, if more people had done that in Nazi Germany, things may have gone differently, right? And people were in so much fear to speak up that, I mean, that's why things got to the place that they went to.
So,
right?
You know, for people like Jen and I, and I'm sure some of you, is like, it's just literally not in our programming to do as we're told. Like it is not in our programming to bend over. It is not in our program to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, right? Unless it's, you know, out of respect for
someone we have respect for.
For somebody that we have respect for, of course. But, you know, we don't follow directions. Like we are incapable of something like receiving a mandatory vaccination. Like it will never ever happen, no matter what, you know, this, you know, mark of the beast thing, or, you know, whatever. It's just it's completely incapable of happening. And that is like that's the line that we need to draw in order to be so strong in holding that frickin' boundary in the United States, or we will lose all of our liberties. We will. And, you know, a couple months ago when we started doing these calls, Jen and I were talking about, you know, oh, good, people are waking up, people are paying attention. Okay, good.
And a lot of people
can bypass the hardships.
A lot of people have woken up.
A lot of people have.
Not enough.
A lot of people are starting to pay attention, but not a lot of people are willing to take the heat that is required to make a stand. And so right now it is required to make a stand. And if we don't make a hard stand, it will be years of hardships, you guys. It is going to be years before enough people hear about it and wake up about it. And
if we don't get really, really loud, it's going to get significantly worse before it gets better. And that's just kind of universal law stuff. It's actually really, really basic.
And Jen and I have spent years, like 6 years since we started going to Costa Rica, specifically because we saw this time coming. Specifically because Jen was getting visions. We said, okay, we need to go to Costa Rica and create an ark for when, you know, the apocalypse happens and martial law happens, and, you know,
and I saw visions
people
of
are going
it.
to need a place to get out.
I saw what was coming.
So let's create that. So
I see what's coming next, you guys. I'm sorry.
But we've been pussyfooting around. We've been kind of quiet about it, and, you know, we've been at the point recently where we're like, okay, really? Like we thought there was enough evidence here that y'all were starting to pay attention and really take a stand. And, you know, and so we've been getting louder, right? We've been getting more, like we've had to take a more solid stance. And because of that, you know, people are actually coming around faster, right? And it's interesting. So I wrote a post last night, late last night, I think 10 o'clock. And by the time I woke up, I think it had about 400 shares. And at this point, I think it has about 600 shares. And then,
thank you, Laura Eisenhower.
well, Laura Eisenhower shared it on her page, and she has another 400 shares on it or so.
She's a great one to follow too, you guys. If you're not following her yet, she is awesome.
Laura, if you're on here, let us know. I was trying to get her on here.
She is a truth teller, and she's taken a really strong stance on this, and she's a great one to follow.
Yeah, so we're doing we're doing an interview, or I guess a roundtable, or a discussion with her, I think on the 15th at 9:30 EST. For those of you that don't know, Laura Eisenhower, she's the President Dwight Eisenhower's granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so
great DNA line.
Great DNA. She knows what is going on.
She's really
been
aware.
Sharing some of my posts, and so we've been in these circles for a long time, but we haven't had this level of engagement because we haven't been taking such a strong stand, because we've been afraid of our image, right? And it's like okay, we started off as sexual healers talking about sexual healing. Then we bought a resort, and then we were like, okay, we have a luxury resort. We've got to be respectable business people, right? Selling homes, doing a development. And so we went kind of that way. And we're at the point right now, we're just like throwing up our hands, and we're like, it's time to save the fucking planet. Like, the only reason we're doing this project is
to create Noah's Ark.
It's to create an ark,
for people.
and it's to change the planet.
It's the truth. That's why we're doing it.
I'm not doing it. We don't even live at the resort.
I'm not doing it for fun. I'll tell you that much, because it's not been fun, you guys. We love Costa Rica, okay? But let me tell you, you guys we were on vacation for 2 years and had such a great life before we started doing this project. It's been really tough.
We were retired for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we were called out of retirement by God to do this whole Synergita project.
It has not been easy.
Like giving our life for it.
It's not been fun.
And so we're at the point right now where we're like, okay, like every part of our identity and our ego has been burned off and shredded, and we don't care anymore. And so we're really realizing that, like, that is where we have to be to thrive and survive right now. And if we're going to make a difference right now, all of us have to be an example of that. We have to be an example. Nothing else matters except for our rights. Nothing else matters except for our way of life and our freedoms. And, if we don't hold on to these, I saw a meme the other day that was like, fight for your rights like a honey badger.
Yeah.
And we've got to be vicious.
Because as soon as they take something away, you don't get it back.
You don't get it back.
That is really, really important.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Everything that is getting taken away will not get given back.
And
so
I started tracking
every inch you budge, it's not our children would have to go to war.
Our children are going to go to war to
fight,
to get back the rights that we fucked up when we gave away.
Yeah, so this is why it's so important.
I started following this. I started tracking this at 9/11 when they passed the Patriot Act. Right, I was a senior in high school, and I remember thinking, wait a second. Wait, so this thing happened, and then they passed this Patriot Act that basically gives all of our privacy away and allows them to track everything we do. Why is that okay with anybody, right? But it's for terrorism. So, okay, well, we'll wait and see, right? So, I mean, when was the last time we saw a terrorist attack in the news?
It never changed.
They never give them back. Like we still got TSA, patting us down and
well, yeah. I mean, bottom line is unless the American people rise up,
we have to like really look at this pattern, you guys, and we've got to take a stand. And if you don't have enough research, if you don't have enough of an opinion to know, by the way, there's only so much you can know, and there's only so much you can be sure of. There's a lot of. Okay. All right. I guess we're pulling Marissa on in a minute.
Okay, great. Would love to hear. Okay, good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Marissa.
So, so here's the thing. Like, as long as we are taking a stand, and okay. So here's what I notice happening. So anytime somebody, if I like take a hard stand in my post, and people are so inspired, and they post, they share it, and they post their own little thing, and they're like, yeah, this, and this. And then I like to go like look at their page. They're like just one step removed from me. So like maybe like their people don't know me or something. And so I'm reading the comments that they're getting, and they're like, well, you don't understand this, this, or this, or this guy is full of crap. And then, the person sharing is like, oh, haha, yeah, I don't know. What do you think? It's like, no,
take a stand. Well, and this is why I've been encouraging everybody in this group too. And we've really been going into this in 5D Business School. If you want to share other people's stuff, it's great, but don't just share other people's stuff. You've got to find your own voice. This is really important, because if you don't have your own voice right now, you're going to crumble.
Why do we have to do all the work?
It's really, well, it's not just out there. Everybody that's on this call is doing a certain level of work, us. Well, because we signed up for it, I know we all want to throw each other a pity party right now, and trust me, I want to too. Let's bring on Marissa and let's see what she's got to.
Yeah, Marissa, what do you got? What do you got?
Can we bring her on? Can we unmute her? Or
she can unmute herself. Oh, maybe she
can.
can.
We unmute her, or can she unmute herself? Yes, so she can talk.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I think
ma'am.
she's up front here, Marissa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, honey.
Figuring out how to use this thing.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
we love hearing from you guys. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Marissa.
Hey, Marissa.
It's good to see you.
Too.
I've really been appreciating the connection and just, I have been at home. I've actually retreated to my off-grid camp, and I'm living alone in Maine, and doing so much meditation and connecting and but I wanted to respond to what you were saying about how light leaders aren't speaking their truth, and how Christiane Northrup she's one that is speaking out, and she was actually my mother's OB/GYN when she was with me. If it were not for Christiane, she wouldn't be alive. My mom could not carry a pregnancy term, and it is. Oh, hang on, my phone is. Someone is trying to text me. So I would not be alive.
Wow.
So, I feel like there's definitely, some kind of connection there with her. And if you go through on your group, I'm posted in there a nice interview with.
So you're cutting out a little bit. Would you mind shutting off your video so we can hear your audio?
Yeah.
Even though we love seeing you,
yeah,
but
thanks. I know you're the only one.
I know we want to see you. But
is that better?
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel this connection with her, and she also in that interview talked a lot about Maine, what it's like to live in Maine right now. There's a lot of really good things going for it, but there's also they just passed a law to mandate vaccines for children. So there's a lot of parents pulling their children out of schools. We have really clean water. However, my family has also been here for 400 years. So we have been here since before the U.S. was a country, before Maine was a state. And we have had every single war from then until now right here, like my whole ancestry and my whole family. And the Native Americans here, the Wabanaki, have a prophecy, and they've begun a ceremony, and this would be year 4, but they're postponing it. It's for 21 years, and it's to heal each other, the land, and the water. And they're having it in Maine every year, and they're moving it to all 4 corners of the country, and then in the center over the next 21 years.
Great.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, like, if there's an end to these light leaders and they're not speaking the truth anymore, the indigenous peoples have a lot of that truth, and they are now opening it up to people to connect. And if anybody is in the United States and feels called to stay there, like I feel like I'm really supposed to be where I am, even though I don't always want to be here. We really need to pay attention to Indigenous rights and the protection of water for all of us, because a lot of it is already polluted in states.
Number one,
Yeah,
water, clean water.
I agree 100%. Yeah, that's great. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, this
That's
is
really,
great.
really great. And, you know, that's exactly it, Marissa. You know, some of you are absolutely going to feel called and you're going to be on assignment in certain areas, you know, that it, like you said, like, I don't want to be here, but I'm assigned, you know. So, and I feel that for you too. So yeah, it resonates. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else? What's this prophecy?
The prophecy is that all of the so it's the dawn land, so it's where the first light hits the United States, and it's also where the first bloodshed happened. So that is where healing needs to begin on what is they call Turtle Island, their continent. And they have an old story about how the land started on the back of a turtle, and ever since like Standing Rock was really huge because all of the tribes in the whole country gathered together and unified for the first time, and they were even warring with each other. They have a history of being in conflict, and they all came together to pray for the water. And so a lot of us have, you know, we're starting in Maine, and there's a really amazing community of Indigenous people, but also like all people, and we're all doing the healing work to heal with each other, our relationships with each other, and building trust and healing the land and healing the water. And we're focusing on sovereignty, like water sovereignty, food sovereignty, and Indigenous sovereignty of rights of their own territory. And if we can protect that, then we're setting a precedent to protect it for the whole country, because it's where so it's where the healing begins.
And yeah, I mean, if
I
that's
love
all
that.
anyone was speaking about, like if we could amplify their voices,
Yep.
just step back,
Yeah.
we'd all sleep better.
Yeah. I love that.
I mean, Jen and I have been screaming about clean food and clean water for 6 years, right? It's part of why we moved to Costa Rica.
It's gold. It's gold.
Yeah.
It's the most important. I mean,
And
if you don't have clean water, you don't have clean air, and you don't have clean
and
food.
this is one of the visions that Jen has been getting for a while now about the U.S. is that she keeps getting, you know, protect the water. They're going to poison the water. They're going to poison the water. They're going to poison the water. And
it's already been poisoned, but I do feel strongly that it's part of the agenda, that there's going to be a next level of pretty hardcore water poisoning. Yeah, so this is really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, well, I'd love it if you would, you know, post something about, you know, wherever we can get more info or wherever these leaders, you know, these tribal leaders are speaking, and if you could post it on the page, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's a great share, and God bless you for being a part of that. It's so important.
Thank you so much for sharing, Marissa. That's really, really great. And please keep us updated in the group too. You know, my favorite things that you guys share, honestly, is when you just share from your heart and something that you've written about what's real for you and what's going on. I really want to see more of those shares in the group. So, you know, please keep us updated with that stuff as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Marissa.
Thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else want to talk? Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah. Anybody else want to share? Any questions?
Yeah, this is helping Kimberly. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, Kimberly. You know, I know you've interviewed a ton of people for Spiritual Biz magazine.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You've got a lot of experience with these guys. Anybody else got any information? Any galactic downloads? Any prophecies? Any important stuff? Anybody want to share what these calls have been doing for you week to week? Yeah. All right, Ava.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. I was going to pick you anyway. All right, you're unmuted.
All right. You're going to pick me anyways.
Well, you're the most animated one of the bunch.
Am I? I know. I laugh at everything.
Great. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Okay, first of all, these calls are doing so much for me. I love the downloads every week. It just really lights me up, except for last week. I had the worst nightmares and did not sleep at all. But I think that was also during the solar flares and all that. So whatever. But yeah, these calls are really doing a lot for me.
What did we do last week?
She was telling us about the
worst
water
case
and the
scenario.
tanks. Yeah, worst
you
case
all asked for it.
I'm sorry.
No,
We're
don't
just
be
answering
sorry.
questions.
I really do hate to be the
People
bearer
are
of
like,
bad
what's
news.
worst case
Yeah.
scenario?
I
We're
know.
like, we can
Well,
go
it sucks, you guys. It sucks being the messenger, you know. And I pray that the time, you know, that it shifts. But and I do apologize.
we
to the
can
group.
shift it, but we've got to get a whole lot louder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I just wanted to add something to that. I tried to post the this video that I saw on Instagram, but I couldn't get it off of Instagram. Anyways, it was about this ex-FEMA officer, and I'm gonna take this like way out there. She was talking about what the vaccine is actually going to do, and she was talking about basically how it's like some micro. It's technology, and what the technology.
So you can't be healed by homeopathic medicine anymore.
That, and also what scares me the most is it's going to connect you to some hive mind, and you won't be. And so yeah, so basically like we're essentially like worker bees to this queen, and we're all kind of connected, and you can't really undo it, which freaks me out the most.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And then on top of that, like last year or maybe over a year ago, I saw some like stupid video on Facebook about some time traveler, and he showed, I think he was like from 2100 or something like that, and he showed like the chip on his hand, the RFID. And he also said something about people never really dying. They just, their consciousness was like downloaded to the, like this server, essentially like this big cloud. And so you kind of just like pick your body, and I don't know, like they kind of made it seem like you don't really die. You just kind of go into this like server. Do you know anything about this?
So there are lots of different potential future timeline realities, and there are variables in the timeline, and we have been stuck in a timeline loop.
What do you mean timeline loop?
So
Past, present, future, the same thing, and we have to, you know, it's like future, past.
So we're at a pivotal point.
Mm-hmm.
We're at a key pivotal turning point. You could say that we've come back in time, or you could say that we've been looping. That's why a lot of us feel like we're from another planet, or you could say that we're remembering the future.
It's like we've been here before. It's like we know
Right.
what's happening now.
Or
we've been here before.
we feel like we're having deja vus all the time. We've been stuck in a timeline loop. And there are potential future realities that are really not pleasant. And there are potential future realities that are absolutely wonderful. But we are at a key turning point in this timeline, and that's why it is so important for us to get so active right now.
Yeah, so it's basically like we've destroyed ourselves so many times because there's so many different ways you can do it wrong.
Yeah.
That you know, you have to kind of like send your consciousness back in the simulation again and again and again. You know, playing out different scenarios to see, okay, which scenario is it? How do we do it right? You know, and this is the game that we're playing, and this is like really is the reality creation game. You know, for all the thought in the mind of God, and you know, if that's the highest truth is we're a thought in the mind of God, and you know, we're all a unique expression of God, and you know, our only job is to play that role out full out, you know, and that's because we're all here to do a very specific job for the current times, for the present time right now, to be able to hopefully create the best outcome possible. But the thing is, like, we're really just working with with what we got right now. And Dan, I'd love to pull you on.
Let me just, I've got something to say. I've got something to say. Just something that has been coming in for me with meditation around this, that feels very, very important. So Ben and I speak a lot about the 6-dimensional energy puzzle in our 5D business school, which is really a 12 dimension of consciousness system that was downloaded to us about 4 years ago. And in that system, we talk about the 6-dimensional energy puzzle. So what it basically is when you solve the energy puzzle of your life, you can step into your highest self. Okay. And so that's the way that we use it in our business school. Now, what I've been getting more information on is how do we step into that as a collective? And that's been really, really interesting to me. So if you think about the idea of how do we create the highest and best timeline, or how do we create heaven on earth, what does that actually mean? Okay. And if you believe in God, if you believe in a benevolent creator, which I actually do, I have been developing very actively a personal relationship with God. Now this is very different, but I'm going to get into it. This is the way I kind of see it. I'm going to simplify and I'm going to speak very biblical, but also to the inner child part of us. Okay. And it's not quite this simple, but I'm going to speak in very simple terms to try to simplify the concept that I have been receiving. Okay. So we'll just say that, for the sake of this, that let's imagine that God is a very loving father. And let's imagine that he created every single one of us, and with the intention of having a family in the same way that, Ben and I had intention to have 3 beautiful children. He had an intention, right? And again, I'm really going to simplify here. But with that, he also had a very high value for free will choice. Like, I would say highest level value is free choice, free will. And I believe it's the highest thing that we're given, and the highest universal law outside of, that we're all interconnected. So with that free will, you have the free will to either create within the structure, or let's just say rules of the house of your father, right? Like follow the rules. Okay. And I think of this in terms of like our kids, right? And I'm really oversimplifying here, but I think of this like Ben and I know what's going to make our kids happy. And if they follow the rules, they'll be happy. And if they don't follow the rules, they're not going to be happy, right? And they're going to create chaos, and they're going to be hitting each other, and they're going to be biting each other, and they're going to be whatever, right? They're not going to be happy. So it's our job as parents to, yes, we want to give our kids choice as much as possible. Developmentally appropriate choice. We want to give them as much, free will as we can. But at the same time, I'm not going to just let my kids do whatever they feel like doing, because it's not really good for them or beneficial for them, right? So why is that important right now? I believe that this planet, a lot of the beings in this planetary consciousness, about a third of heaven left, and decided to say F you to God. And they created hell in a lot of ways. And so how do we get back to heaven on earth? I think it's actually a lot simpler than we've all been making it. And it's more complicated too, okay? But if I can solve this from a 6D energy perspective, I would say we've got to live by God's rules. And this is really, really important. We've got to start living by God's rules. If we can start living by God's rules and really connect with him, and not from a place of like, this is very, very different than being from a place of like, obedience, or like do that out of shame, or like you're bad, but like from a place of like, whoa, you know how to create heaven, you've got the map, I'm going to surrender my free will to that consciously and get on board with that, because I'm smart enough to know I'm going to be a whole lot happier. You know what I mean? There's something about that. And I think we've lost, like I've seen so many people on the planet literally lose their sense of discernment, lose their sense of what's right and what's wrong, lose their sense of morality. And if we don't come back to center with this stuff, we're never going to have that higher timeline. That's my 2 cents with it. Again, we're really oversimplifying it. But okay, I'm gonna let Daniel share.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Thanks, Ava.
Thank you.
Really, yeah, no, thank you.
Thank
I love,
you.
you know me, I love the weird stuff. So
Yeah. I'm all with the weird stuff.
me too. I love it.
Yeah, it's like we can talk about.
I can talk about the weird stuff
we can
all
talk
day.
about the weird stuff. We can talk about living the simulation. We can talk about
Holographic
Yeah.
reality.
Yes,
Seeing
yes.
veil.
extraterrestrials, and at the very top is just
Oh yeah.
the thought in the mind of God.
No.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Devera, do you want to go first, and then Daniel, would you mind talking a little bit about what you're getting in?
Yeah.
All right, so let's take Tamara.
Tamara. Oh, great.
Unmute.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hey, how are you
Hi, you guys.
doing?
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
We're good. We
Good.
went back to
Okay.
Costa Rica,
Oh my
but we're
God,
good.
we're
I
back.
know.
Dying.
I'm chugging along here. I'm coming.
Yeah, when are you guys
Uh,
coming back to Costa Rica?
Oh, I'm telling you, I am fast tracking and kicking ass here. So,
Good.
yeah, I'm pretty much done. So my lines are drawn in the sand. So, thank you for all the sharing that you've been doing. Your courage encourages me, and I don't see anybody else out there shouting as loud as you guys do. And I, for one, absolutely appreciate it. And it makes me feel like, you know, what's the next thing I need to do in order to shout louder or bigger or stronger or whatever that needs to look like. The one thing that I was reading today, and it kind of hit me, it tweaked me, and I was like, okay, so something that's been kind of bothering me, and I know that, Ben, you've written a little bit about this, I believe, about, some of our spiritual leaders just kind of sitting in the background and not saying anything, and not really shedding the light, what needs to happen, like the shift, the movement for the light. And
Yes.
I for one, have been pissed off about that. I think if you have the power in the light, use the light, right? Use the power of the light to shift that. We fucking need it right now.
Thank you.
And
Amen. Yep.
yeah, I'm I'm like you. There's no fucking way somebody's gonna vaccinate me. It's not happening. Sorry, but it's not. It's not happening. I will not allow it. But the thing that I was piqued by today was passivity programming, right? This whole thing where if we just sit on the mountaintop and we cross our legs and we put our hands together and all say fucking the world's gonna change.
Kumbaya.
Like if that was the case, then why the fuck are we in this situation?
And why are we in a physical body? I could have been doing
Right?
that from the other side.
Right?
We've got extraterrestrials and angels doing that for us, and ascended masters. What the heck are we doing here?
Right? We're not doing the work.
Thank you.
We're bullshitting ourselves into thinking that we're actually doing something here, and it's like, I don't know. I can't get a spoon to get to my mouth to eat a piece of something unless I move my hand. I don't know anybody on this plane who's looking at that spoon and willing it into their mouth.
Let me just meditate on it, and the food will exactly.
Right?
Thank you. Right? We are a physical body.
Right? So what I'm wondering is that passivity program, it is a program, and what is it that we need to do and to smash through that? Because I know some of the things that I share, people feel it and they know it on some level that something ain't right here, but they don't have the courage, or they're just not quite there, and they're like, I know people are just watching from the outside, and it's like, okay, what do we do to break through that passive place? And is it just that we stand stronger, or what is it that we do
That's
so
a
that
great
so many
question.
people who are sitting on the fucking sidelines, like they're martial law, they're taking away everything. We are in lockdown.
They're like taking away your guns in Canada, right?
Right?
They're like taking away guns.
Oh,
I mean, that is like textbook.
You know what
like disarm the population. That's like textbook, right?
Yep. Yeah, well, I have to tell you, where I live, nobody's taking anybody's guns. That's not going to happen. I live in like,
you're Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I live
right?
like in redneck, right? You're not touching my gun. Everybody has 20 of them, so not me particularly, but I know people. Yeah, so
people at least that your next door neighbor is 10 minutes away from you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good. That's good.
I'll just go hang with them. But yeah, so
I love rednecks.
I don't know. Right? They just shoot straight. But the thing is, what do we do? Because I feel that that's the biggest thing standing in our way right now, is that people think that if they stand up, or that somehow if they say fuck, that they're not enlightened, or they're not doing the good work, and it's not the truth.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we certainly don't have all the answers, and we're exasperated too. You know, if it's someone close to you, so yeah, I would like to make some kind of key kind of little pocket boom, boom, boom things. You know, if it's someone close to you, if it's a close friend or family member, I believe that you kind of have a duty, or it is your assignment to, if you're awake, to wake them up. Now that's my personal belief structure. Not everybody might want to hear that.
We talked about this on another call a few weeks ago.
And I said, that's your ego.
So we blocked her.
And I blocked her. And I said, look, you're not on the right call. You know, go somewhere else. Yes.
Go on the egoless call somewhere else.
My ego, I have a personality, and my ego is pissed off right now. And no, it's not enlightened. Okay, it's not.
If you want to go be boring, go be boring somewhere else.
I'm not. You know, my ego's got stuff to do. So that's my personal belief structure. And so, you know, I can just tell you what I've been doing. You know, I can just speak for myself, right? I have been reaching out to, you know, my close friends that are very, you know, what I would call mainstream middle America, and my family. Okay. Which is, they're Midwest, hardcore Midwest Catholic. Okay. And I have been sending them stuff, having multiple calls, having late night calls, having 2-hour-long calls, having 3-hour-long calls. I'm up in the middle of the night, and I'm doing my best to get the information out. And, you know, I have gotten through, not fully, I wouldn't say as far as I would like, but my two, you know, best friends that I've grown up with, I have gotten through to them. They are listening. And I have gotten through to basically 2 of my sisters and my mom. My 80-year-old mother, Catholic mother, is actually starting to listen. Okay, that's a big deal, you guys. So
we got through to my parents,
and we got through to his parents.
Starting to get through to my
and we're starting to get through to your sister. Exactly. But I am just.
I got through to my old best friend that I lost, you know, a few years ago, because he wasn't willing to, you know, push far enough. He was still just didn't want to pay attention, and so he messaged me the other day. He's like, hey, you know, what's going on with you? I'm seeing the stuff you're posting on Facebook. Are you okay? For all of you who've gotten that, are you okay?
I've had that question.
I was like, fuck you. Do you have any idea what's even going on right now? And he's like, what's going on? And so I messaged him, and he was like, oh shit, I thought we had more time. You know, okay, I'm in, I'm back. I'm paying attention. Right. And so but that's rare.
I just summarized the post. Yeah, it can take, it's multiple conversations. It does require some time, you know, like anything else. And you know, I still have 2 of my sisters that they're not listening. They're just like, you know. But what's happening is there are ripple effects with each of that, right? So now I've got like my 2 sisters and my mom on my other 2 sisters, and it's not just me. So it's like, you know what I'm saying?
So let me get to, I feel like what's important is that I think what we're all really, like the way that we're going to get the best outcome isn't really to focus even on waking people up. I think it's on sharing our fullest, like sharing to our fullest capacity without fear at all.
It's true.
And then through that, being an example for other people to say, wow, if they can do it, I'm going to do it too.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. And then from there, of course, we can talk to other people, and that's really what wakes people up. And, you know, and that's what's allowed us to wake our family up, is because we're like, look, this is just the truth. I can't stop it coming out of my mouth, even if I wanted to. I mean, our business partners have told us to shut up, and we're just like, I'm sorry, I can't stop.
I'm like, why do you think I'm doing this project? Do you think I'm doing it? You know, it's funny still how many people I'm getting to that are like, you're just trying to sell me real estate and scam me. And I'm like, you really think I'm doing this? Like, are you kidding me? You know, like I don't even have the time to listen to it. You know,
they've never owned real estate. They don't know what it takes.
Or he had somebody the other day that was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're trying to sell homes. He's like, that's how I make money.
My business.
My business is selling homes. Like, I'm sorry.
I was like, wait. I was like, wait a second, hold on. So this is like, I'm doing a sales call in my living room, and you walk into my living room and tell me I shouldn't be doing a sales call. Like, dude, I don't know who you are. What are you doing in my living room? Like, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Like, trust me, if I was trying to scam people, I would not be blasting and pissing people off every day. I'd be way smoother at what I'm doing right now.
So,
you know?
Well,
anyway,
you would be the government. You'd show them what you wanted to see in the fucking day, and then
Politicians,
it'd be-
Tell them what they want to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
so here's the thing about,
No.
you know, this false light matrix of people from The Secret, people like Paul Proctor, with Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, you know, all these guys. This is a false light matrix. And, you know, The Secret, when it came out, it felt to us like this big awakening, but it's actually been a huge prison, because it teaches people only to focus on what you want to create, only focus on what you want to create. So it's like, focus on what you want to create, focus on what you want to create. But it's like,
oh wait,
you know,
there are
our
people.
government's looting all, like, everything behind the scenes, and it's like, you know.
Oh wait, children are, there's I don't know, hundreds of thousands of children going missing in the U.S. every year, but don't look at it. Look over here. Stay positive.
You create your own reality. It's
you
quantum
create your own
physics.
reality.
It's all up here. It's quantum physics.
Yeah, well,
it's in
you turning a
alternate
blind eye
dimensions.
to that is creating children being
like,
human
Okay,
products.
and we're all here to like play the physical game of Earth, right? So, you know, I mean, I can talk with the best of them about reality creation. We used to have a 10-day mystery school called Multidimensional Awakening. It was $22,000 for 10 days, and people would literally go into the next dimension of consciousness from wherever they were at and create a new reality. Like, we understand this shit.
And it's great. It's all great in and of itself, but you don't create your own reality. This is the problem with the industry, the 4D industry right now, is that they're like, la 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 la, I'm creating my own reality, la la la. It's
not
like,
how it
there's
works.
nothing wrong with creating your own reality. We should be empowered
So
to
by
do that,
doing
but
this, la, 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 I'm going to focus on this. Reality is creating itself behind the scenes. And, you know, I'm telling you, ain't nobody living, you know, in the transformational industry, living the life that they want to live, including Jack Canfield, including these guys. You know, if Marianne Williamson, you know, the queen of create her own reality, you know, like, okay, why not be president right now? Seems pretty simple to me, you know. if we're like master reality creators, you know. The problem is we're not grounded. Oh, Dan left? No.
shoot, we might to get him to speak. Okay, we're talking too much.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Dan.
All right, maybe we can have him come on next time. Sorry, Dan. Okay, I know we're going over time too.
Sorry.
Bummer. No, sorry. No, sorry. We
I
wanted
got
your
you riled
that was
up.
great. No, I'm so with you. I'm so with you, and I think it's just great to talk about this stuff too, just as humans, you know. Yeah, the biggest thing I can say about it with
and by the way, we talked
said,
a lot about this at the beginning of the call. Sounds like you missed it, but we did talk a lot about
I did. Sorry, I was on another call.
Yeah, go
good.
back and listen to it tomorrow. We talked a lot about this.
A lot of it too, and I'm just getting repeating messages on this, so I have spoken about this before, but I will repeat it, is that, you know, those of us that do know what's going on are rare in the world, and we need to stand strong in our God-given authority of discernment of truth. And when you speak from that place, people will start to listen, as you said, Damara, you know, because people can feel truth in their body. On a body level, people can feel it. And so if you just stand strong and you're consistent, and, you know, certain things I don't mind sending people, you know, yeah, there's this, but there's also a certain level of like, no, I don't need to prove this to you. I check it out, go here, do your own, I'm not your babysitter, you know, but I will stand and know this is real. There's a lot of things I'm standing in right now. I'm going, look up Bill 6, you know, HR 6666, right? Look up this patent number 060606. Look up luciferase. No, this is real. Google it yourself. I'm not going to do your homework for you. This is real. This is not a conspiracy theory right now.
For you.
You know, look up.
I got a job.
Look up the, you know, 100. I think we're at 160,000 now sealed indictments in the Pacer.gov. You know, in our own country, in the U.S. Okay, there's sealed indictments. Okay, this is, I know. Thank you, and I'm so with you. I'm like, gosh, somebody.
Just make the arrest
but
already.
That's not a conspiracy theory. You can look that up on the government website.
Right.
I'm not making that up. No, the names are not all listed, but There's a ton of people going on the LA County website, you know, looking up the celebrity names. This is real. There's a lot of this stuff that you can go, look, this is real, and check it out yourself, you know. And if you just stand in that and go, you know, and oh, MSM, do you know who owns it? Do you know what their agenda and belief structure is? Like, I mean, I've been doing that a lot, you know. I mean, I had my niece the other day, she ended up quitting her job, but you know, her company that she was working for, I'll just give you the short version. Her company that she was working for basically sent her the letter, you know, you have 4 days and you're going to get contact tested, you know, you're going to get COVID tested, and you have to submit to this contact tracing thing, contact tracing thing. Thank you. And, you know, and she said, well, what can I do? You know, and I said, well, you know, you could, you know, get a lawyer and fight it, you know. But she's a
or you can tell the man to shut it.
So for her, for example, this is the way I got through to her. I'll just give an example. You know, for her, she's a very, very strong Catholic. You know, she's very, very strong in her faith. And I said, have you researched? I did a quick research on who owns Foxconn, who owns the company you're working for. And I looked him up, and then I looked for his belief structure and what is he funding? What's his agenda? And I said, do you realize you're working for a Satanist? So do you want to support this? And she was like, oh, nope, I'm quitting, you know?
Wow.
So, but it's talking to different people. Yeah. But it was like, I was like, look him up on Wikipedia, and I can read to you here, and here. I can pretty much tell you he's, you know, this will show you he's not a Christian. He's not a good man, and what he's funding and what you're working for. And I said, look, when you're working for a company, you are working for the CEO's agenda. So if you don't know the owner and CEO's agenda, do you want to be working for this company?
Yep.
You know?
Right.
So basically, everyone, thanks, Tamara.
Thanks, Tamara.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll log off. Basically, you guys, like, there's no time like the present to really double down on a belief. Pick something, stick with it. I don't care which side you're on. I don't care what it is, but you know, we've got to pick something and stick with it.
And take a stand. Yeah, I mean, some of the people in this group are really feeling called, again, the indigenous and the water rights. If that's where you're called, then really take a hard stand on it and speak to it. You know, some people, it's going to be the vaccination thing. Take a hard stand on it, like whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely. That's another big one that's showing up in this group. Some of it might be gun rights, or, you know, whatever it is, take a strong stand and just speak your truth boldly. I think it's the best thing that we can all do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, you have to follow your intuition.
Yep.
It starts with following your intuition. You're not going to be able to stand for what you believe until you start talking about it and you get tested. People will test you. Mm-hmm. Your friends will test you. Your family will test you. They will test your resolve. They will test your strength. There's no way to get where you're going until you've gone through the testing phase. You've gone through the fire, because this is the learning experience. This is where you burn off every part of you that gives a crap, right? And so this actually is 5D. 5D, it's not about the outcome as much as it is about the journey and what you learn from the process. That's 5D true. Is about the process. So if you write some big old thing and you pour your heart out into something and you get like 1 like or 1 comment and nobody gives a shit about it, and you know, and then you go read it, you know, you read it back, you're like, all right, well, why didn't anyone comment on this? You know, I've got like 5,000 friends. Why didn't anyone care? You know, I mean, if it was something you put any type of energy in and wanted a reaction from it, mm-hmm. you look at it and you process. You go through the process of saying, okay, well, where could it have made more sense? Where could it have gotten a better hook? What can I have done with this, right? Or if you do have something and then people start barking at you, right? And people start complaining at you or saying you're wrong, or I had a guy the other day commented on one of my posts, and somebody commented, to him, and basically said, you're a sociopathic dumb motherfucker or something. And I was like, oh, dude, I eviscerated this guy, and because he was, it was like, these people are absolutely losing their minds, right? So you can't take it personally. You can't. They're holding on to their fragile reality for dear life.
True.
Right? Like all the signs around us, it's like, okay, anybody seeing this? Anybody seeing this? And they're not seeing it, not because they're not seeing it. It's because they're not able to translate it. They're closing their eyes. They're blocking the signs. You know, so
it's
like,
because they don't want to see it. They're terrified. They're absolutely terrified.
so just understand that your communication is the response you get. And so don't worry about getting it right. The point is not to get it right. The point is to start doing it. And, you know, we're just, I was talking to Jen, I was saying that we're just so blessed that we've been, you know, talking about crazy stuff for 8 years.
We started out talking about crazy stuff.
Yeah, we started out like, you know, from mailman and preschool teacher to totally normal jobs, to then quitting our jobs, having no idea what we were doing with the business. And now all of a sudden on stage and on radio and on TV, you know, speaking about explosive sexual healing and 30 minutes of G-spot orgasm and ejaculation. I mean, like, being raised Christian and Catholic, like, this was horrifying for us. You know, we were getting death threats, and, you know, but we just had to keep going. We had to keep going, and we had to keep going. So basically, we've spent the last 8 years, you know, burning off any part of us that, you know, would think, oh, I better not talk about that, because what will they think, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, I know a lot of you haven't had the luxury of spending 8 years on this, but like, the time is now.
Yep.
The time is now to really start speaking up. The time is now to stop caring and to be okay losing friends or connections or family.
And you figure out how to do it by doing it. It really is like one of those things. If you're like, how do you find the courage, or how do you find the this, or how do you do it? You just do it.
You can read 1,000 books on it, and
You
you're
just
not
do
going to
it.
learn as much as just starting to do it.
Just speak what's true for you.
And just get a little more intense every time. And that is the transition from 4D to 5D. That people like Jack Canfield aren't willing to make. They're so petrified that they're unwilling to even post a real opinion.
Yep.
They're completely unwilling to do it.
Yep.
And so, you know, this is where you are going to 5D. They're not making it into 5D. They're not going to do it.
It's our turn.
It's our turn.
It's our soul group's turn. They're a soul group.
They were the bedrock.
Yep. It's
right?
our turn.
They started the whole thing, right? Now it's our turn to take it and run with it, right? And so, but it is going to take, you know, saying, really talking about what pisses you off. That's what it is, okay? Talk about what you're freaked out about. And the people that say, oh, I don't want to hear it. This is too hard for me to hear. You know, like, it's going to be too hard for you to hear now.
It's going to be way harder to hear later. It's going to be and also keep in mind that a lot of these people, and I've been through cycles of this already in previous times. A lot of these people are going to come around later and will be thanking you later, or will come around and say, oh, you were right, I couldn't hear you later. Some of them won't ever, okay? But I've been through cycles of this where I've been saying something and somebody couldn't hear me, but just remember, you're planting a seed. 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 And some of those seeds that you plant are going to take root, and you're going to be surprised even when you feel like it's really easy to get discouraged with this stuff and to feel like nothing's happening. But if you're speaking truth, you are planting a lot of seeds, and you're going to be surprised because people will start to hear you. Sometimes it takes time, but people will start to hear you, and you will see people coming around sometimes background in the future too. So yeah.
Good job, Wendy.
Awesome.
Wendy was tested and will continue. And Marissa, it's quite a story about your contract with the Democrats that tried to get you to sign away your free speech.
Jeez.
It's not for any dollar amount, man.
It's crazy.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
Love you all.
For
thanks
serving,
so much. Yeah, thanks for
living
your
in the
shares.
light.
Thank you. Love you
for
guys.
being light warriors, for being badass, for changing the planet. You know, I mean, if you guys are all, you know, working your design, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing your part, and that literally is the best thing you could possibly do on the planet. So thank you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for spending the 90 minutes here with us.
Yep.
Godspeed. God bless.
God bless.
We'll see you soon.
Have a wonderful week, you guys. Talk next week.
Bye, everybody.
Mhm.
Oh, a second.
Unmute.
All right.